Nobody likes to fight a losing battle, and yet so many of us are called to do just that. Join Dr. Chip Dodd and I for a conversation about boundaries, health, and keeping heart while fighting a losing battle. All of this is a part of our Why I Stay series. Some of these words may not be easy to hear at first, but I hope that they will lead you toward more wholehearted living, clarity on your conviction, and calling. Welcome to a podcast about disciple making in the public square, where we talk about everyday issues from a biblical and balanced perspective. This is where life exists. What's up, everyone? I'm here with Dr. Chip Dodd, and today we're going to be continuing in our series on Why I Stay. But today I want to look at it from a little different, because sometimes it's not good for people to stay. Sometimes there's people who are in abusive relationships. And so this is not, why I stay in an abusive relationship. I don't believe that this relationship is abusive, but there are times and scenarios when it's good for people to leave. It's good for people to create boundaries. It's good for us not to go, to stay in the abuse of a relationship. So I'm going to be talking with Chip today and just really getting the chance to be able to differentiate between the two. Chip, you have been in kind of a abuse-oriented, you've been dealing with trauma, addiction, all these things for many different ways, and even just the abuse that people have dealt with when it comes to these types of environments and relationships. I mean, what is your thoughts when it comes to staying, when to stay, when not to stay? Like, what are your general thoughts on that?
That's great. And really, it's like why I stay. And this one today, you and I are going to be talking about why I'm leaving. Kind of like when's it time to go? Number one, we got to recognize that you don't know if it's time to leave until you've actually attempted to have boundaries, and at the same time you put down walls. Okay, now walls do not help form relationship, and walls don't help except with the enemy. Okay, so we're talking about when to leave a relationship that doesn't work. Okay, it's not the relationship. You're not the enemy yet. All right, so you erect fences. Fences and walls are different. Fences create boundaries. Walls create defenses. A boundary is something that separates me from you. Fences have gates that lock from the inside, meaning a fence says this is where my land starts and I'm responsible for myself, my land. It's my land. I've been given this land. It's my job to take care of this land. Now, what that means is that my body, my mind, my heart, my soul are mine to care for. They're my responsibility. So a boundary says this: hey, when you come across and just get on my land, crawl over the fence instead of coming through the gate, I don't like it. I feel angry. I feel hurt. I feel sad. So I need you to respect my property. I need to respect me by paying attention to that. And at the same time, I do the same for the other person. That's how we actually have a healthy relationship. But now, when is it time to leave? Here's how you know. When a person consistently and continually tells you what you think, okay? They decide they know what's in your head and what your intentions are. When they tell you what you feel, oh, you don't feel hurt, you feel sad, or you shouldn't feel that, or you're wrong to have that, or you're wrong to think that. Then when a person's told what to think and told what to feel, or somebody reaches across a space, and we all have space that knows that if you get too close, it's not okay. When a person reaches across space and touches your body and demands of your body. So physical, mental, and emotional, and even spiritual crossing of the boundaries. Whenever you tell somebody what they think, what they feel, or what they've got to do to be loved, then that's abuse. Okay, so, and there's a point at which because you love somebody or want good, whether it's culturally, personally, neighborhood, church, you offer yourself over and over again, like in a couple. Let's just think of a couple. Like when you drink, and you start using language that I feel hurt about, I feel sad about, and I feel angry about, when you tell me that I don't do enough for you, when you tell me that I'm always in the wrong, when you tell me that I shouldn't feel sad or I shouldn't feel hurt, I just want you to know I can't live like that with you. I've got to have a voice in this relationship. And if I can't, then I've got to do something different. Either you're going to
So
join me or not.
So let's talk about this a little bit because, obviously there's a relational component, but let's talk about this organizationally, right? And like when you are in an organization and you don't feel like you are being heard, because that is the cry out for many, is just like, I'm not being heard. My voice is not being heard. There's systemic injustices. There's systemic oppression. You know, basically, if that's the criteria, then it seems like it is more justified in leaving than it is in staying.
Yeah, and very often that's exactly right, but you have to ask, we all have to ask ourselves a question. Um, am I demanding that if I have a feeling, I'm demanding that you fix it versus I'm having a feeling and I need you to help me with it? Like that's true for relationships that we really care about. That's true for neighborhoods, and that's true for institutions and organizations. I'm having a feeling, will you help me related to it? Or I'm having a feeling you've got to change. Because if we're hurt and we don't take ownership of our own healing, then what happens is we demand that somebody fix what they didn't break, somebody end up pay a debt that they don't owe, somebody end up doing something for me that happened a long time ago. Like, I'll be honest with you, like when I got married, where I come from was, let's just say I didn't know how to live in a relationship.
Mhm.
And I came into that whole thing really hurt, but also denial, tough guy, all that kind of stuff. And on some level, I was always trying to get her to fix me, to get her to do this stuff. If you really cared about me, you'd remember this. If you did this, you would do this. It was always like I was trying to get her to fix something she didn't break. And she owed a debt that paid to pay for a debt that she didn't owe. So I've got to ask myself, am I demanding that people be responsible for my feelings, or am I being responsible for my own feelings? It's the
Mhm.
difference between reaction, an action somebody takes based on what somebody else did, versus responsibility.
Right. So, how does it look to take responsibility? And I know you talked about in the past the idea of even the essence of organization is kind of or corporation is corporate, it's without soul, it's without. How do you demand something without a soul to take responsibility for an oppression that you're feeling like that you're having?
See, and that there is the big problem. As soon as we start talking about corporation, you're not talking about a person anymore. I mean, it's a thing where people can hide from responsibility. It's not a relationship until that organization becomes people who know what it's like to be human, who can talk to other people. Is that too much? I mean,
No, I think that's really good. So, do for those people who know what it's like to be human, do those people have to be the ones in power in order to make the systemic change in the corporation? Because if I'm feeling like there's a corporation that is set against me or is not for me, or it is silenced my voice or whatever it is, but this corporation does not have a soul, and then if we have to do you understand my logical deduction? Now I have to go to the people that are in control, or at least that I assume that are in control of the corporation. And is it, can I say, demand them fix that? Is it request them to fix that? Because to fix the corporation, because I may even be good with the individual, that is in the leadership, but I'm not good with the system that the corporation, this soulless corporation, has.
yeah, and tell you, this is extremely difficult because there was a when platoons, uh, small groups, well, it's just the way that our system is set up, that small groups end up electing somebody to represent them. And then they send that person they elected to be their voice to a bigger group of voices. Okay, so and therefore we're valued because we're heard. Our voices are heard by the people we elect to represent us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's the platoon idea. But when the system becomes corporate, it's bigger than the platoon electing a voice to represent us. It becomes like there's nobody for us to talk to. It's like we're talking to a building.
Yeah.
Instead of a person. We're talking to a thing. So it's almost like centralized power ends up eradicating voices of individuals.
Yeah. So what do you do then? Because right now we're obviously dealing with the system, or at least when we talk about the systemic injustice, right? We're, systemic oppression, or even when we talk about why I stay, specifically a lot of times we're talking about why do I stay in predominantly white evangelical spaces, or why does, so we're talking about a system, right? That is impersonal, that is corporate and all of that. Is there any way out of this? Or how are we supposed to relate as individuals within a system that is soulless, and that is without soul?
Yes, and you're talking about the war of love. Like, for example, I've worked in the addiction world for 30, I'm getting old. I'm 33 years, 35 years almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've worked in the world of societal change and spiritual reformation for what, 25 years or longer.
Yeah, I'm
And
going. I'm getting older. It's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm starting.
Yeah.
I'm starting to pat.
Bend your head down. We'll see it.
Yes.
Show that
I'm
gray,
not.
man.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
But and so you and I are uh, fighting a battle for love's sake, for reformation's sake, for regeneration's sake, that has been being fought for thousands of years. And there was this copyright attorney that told me one time, he said, listen, I'm gonna tell you something about music industry. He said, all those artists out there, he said, they don't matter. They're nothing but faces. He said, the institution, that's what matters. He said, all we're looking for are faces. And then we use them, then we drop them, and then we go get another face. The artist doesn't matter. And then he said, I'm nothing but a tick looking for dogs to latch on to and suck their blood. I'm like, wow, golly. But see, you and I are against that. Yeah. You and I both say the artist matters, or the individual matters, or each person matters. And we're fighting like crazy to help people have the voice that God gave them, and for them to belong and matter as God made them to belong and matter. But we are always fighting, I have to say this, a losing battle, because a lot of people don't want to own their need, don't want to give up what's working for them, don't want to also have to be responsible for saying, help me, or be with me. And I think, Dahadi, we've seen so many individual growth become systemic change. And I know it's the long road, man. I mean, but the number of recovering people I've experienced in 35 years that have gone on to change their families' lives and then systems' lives. I mean, one guy started a medical school after leaving treatment. I mean, just the stuff that people's done. One man just turns around and raises his children that end up being differently than they would have ever been. So as much as I hate to say it, and yet at the same time, it's glorious, the individual with other individuals is what makes change happen. Why we
Yeah.
stay? Because we can't help it. Why we stay? Because we believe in the starfish, the one that makes a difference too. Why we stay? Because somebody did for us what we never would have found otherwise. Why we
Yeah.
stay? Somebody didn't give up, but like you're fighting a losing battle, like you say in the white evangelical world, right? But at the same time, it's worth it. I'm fighting a losing battle in the whole addictions world because I mean, addiction is more. There are 200 million addicts in this country. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
one.
Man, that's so humbling. And I think that's exactly what the Bible tells us is that we have to keep hungering and thirsting for righteousness, even though we got to grieve our powerlessness, that we are spiritually bankrupt. And that's really what makes us mourn. So it's just like really addressing and embracing our humanity and our sobriety in it all. And so, I mean, it's really, I mean, what you're talking about is the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn because of it. Blessed are those who have a sober understanding. And blessed are those that continue to hunger and thirst. It's kind of like we're in a losing battle. We're going to lose, but we're in. Like you said, like there's going to be as many addicted people in life, as before you started, as you leave. There's going to be just as much injustice as before I started than as I leave. And, how do I come to grips with that? How do I keep hungering and thirsting? And I think that, but to me, I'm all in. That's why I'm staying. That's why I'm still going, even though, but I yearn for the day when Christ's return, where he's going to make all things new. And I think that is really the hope for us as believers.
And we are compelled. I mean, you can't help it, and I can't either. We got to go towards the Titanic. We row towards the Titanic. That's what we do. And if we tried to stop doing it, Dhati, I don't think we would be okay. I don't think you'd be okay. I don't think I'd be okay.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people are okay. And I think that is the problem. And I think this is why so many of us are not living the abundant life that Jesus did, because this is Jesus' story as well. There's just as many unsaved people today. There's even more than when they were in his day, and the reality is that he still went, he still died, he still resurrected, he's still advocating, he's still doing it. And so we talk about the narrow road versus the wide road. And I think that we can't just measure our success. We got to create a new measurement of success and really begin to look at like faithfulness, thy will be done, regardless of the cost. And I love the definition of passion when you talk about a willingness to endure the pain for something that's greater than the pain. So again, man, we could talk all day. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for giving us that and just even calling us to continue to stay in, even in the midst of ultimately, can I say, loss. So, So thanks, Chip.
Yeah, we got to keep the love, keep the fight, and be willing to grieve. We win eventually. Remember, we know how the book ends. We know how it all ends. We win, but we can win here by staying angry, staying great, staying focused, staying in the passion, regardless of what it costs. I mean, because it's worth it.
Amen.
But it hurts. Better be willing to hurt.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
so
right, sir.
thank you, Dhati.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Next time.
Thanks for watching another episode of Where Life Exists. This has been a part of our Why I Stay series. We love to hear what you think about this video. Leave a comment below to let us know what your thoughts are and questions on today's topics. And if you want to stay up to date with the latest videos and interviews, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.